to say that I have a clip from that song that we can play just a little bit of.
Okay, that sounds good.
But, yeah. I told him I may have to very well come up with a diagram, an infograph to explain exactly what it is we're trying to get across. Because like the first 15 minutes are just trying to hash out all those details. But we also did Listeners Also Bought, and he thought that was the best game ever. He goes, I want to play that with my friends now. He's like, did you come up with that? I was like, yes, I did. He's like, oh, that is awesome, dude. I really like that. Okay. I'm trying to remember all the pet peeve stuff I came up with. I can only remember a couple. And some of them are kind of vague, but that's okay. I did pull 2 examples, though. One, because it's very topical, and 2, because I think it's kind of, at least for me, it feels like it's hard to explain exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So, anyway. I promise I'm not trying to one-up you. I was just like, I don't know how to explain it without having an example.
Yeah.
So.
I need to focus on what I was doing. My goodness, I'm all distracted now. I'm sitting here reading the chat room and listening to you, and I'm not getting my show prep done.
Mm-hmm. Oh, do you want to play the whole footy pajama thingy, or do you want to save that for if we do like a humorous Christian rock show?
Footy pajama. Oh, right. I'm fine either way. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, it would be really good as an intro into a humorous one, but I was trying to think, do you think that there's enough like funny stuff that is like examples that are out there?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
I think we'll probably have to do a little more research on that before we dive into that.
Okay.
So
well,
I need to remove you. Okay. I had to pull the review because otherwise I would probably end up playing it.
Oopsie doopsie.
This is last week's review. Since we don't have a new one, we'll just play last week's.
Yeah.
So, Paul, if you don't know, so Slam Session is Chris Anderson, and he is a part of, and now I'm not going to remember the name of the band. It's a band I really like. We got to meet them. They submitted their music to us. I cannot think of the name of the band right now. And of course, this is all live on the stream, so, Chris, I'm sorry, but I am lost on your band's name at the moment. But anyhow, he's started a new podcast called Slam Sessions, and he covers 3 basic topics, talking about like space and religion and politics, and he kind of covers all of them together. Affliction Asylum. He used to be the drummer for Affliction Asylum. That was the band.
Oh, yeah, the one that did Zombie, right?
No, they did not do Zombie. The song that they did is the one that we know him for is called Dragging the Limp.
Yeah.
Which is a great song. I totally dig it.
Right.
Totally dig it. And Chris, I didn't realize you were the former drummer. I thought you were still in the band. So, and Kirk, thanks for the shirt comment. It actually says Star Wars down on the bottom. So, Old Navy, $7. Gotta love it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So he does this podcast. It's about a half hour long, and Dragging the Limp. That's exactly right. He's been chatting with me about just ideas for making it sound good and all of that kind of stuff. So we've had a lot of talks, and he's now looking for donations. He's now looking for donations to try and get a Procaster like what we use.
Aha.
So
very cool.
Yeah.
Do you have a birthday coming up? This is a Christmas present.
Yeah.
This is how real broadcasters do it.
I actually paid for mine, but I bought it refurbished, so it was about $100 cheaper than the full price version. So
I don't remember if I think mine might have been refurbished as well.
Is that right?
I could be wrong.
I got it through eBay through a specific, like they were authorized repair center resellers or something like that.
Yeah.
Something crazy.
Yeah, but did yours still come like in the original box with all the original pieces and stuff?
The only thing it didn't have is the little clip to go on the back to mount it, because it's got that tailpiece that comes off. That's how it's supposed to mount to a regular stand. So it didn't have that, but I had what you had right now wrapped around the mic, and then Kirk says I'm going to get an amateur caster. It's much cheaper.
Kirk.
So then I ended up buying the actual Rode shock mount. So that's what I'm currently using is the Rode shock mount. But they run about $60, and I'm looking at a pop filter, but they're another $60. So it's going to be a while before I get that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I usually side address.
I used a pop filter on mine for a while because I had one for my other one because it actually needed it. But this one, I couldn't tell any difference.
Yeah, it's mainly just to help keep your distance. But since I side address, since I keep it off to the side of my mouth, I don't usually have a problem with popping. That's what actually, Kirk, that is what we used at the radio station when we first got started, because we used the AT2020 from Audio-Technica. And those things are great microphones, but they are way too sensitive. They pick up so much room noise, it's not even funny. And so popping into that was terrible. So that's what I did is I went out and bought some small looms and some pantyhose and wired them up so that they could sit in front of the microphone. And it does a great job, but we actually bought like real pop filters that I feel work better than the pantyhose do. But the idea is the same at least.
Yeah. Well, and the good news is at least the real pop filters aren't expensive anymore.
No. I mean, I think I got them for like $10 or something like that.
Yeah, agreed.
So, Chris, the nice thing about these microphones is that not only are they front address, but they block a lot of the background noises. They do a really good job at canceling anything that's not directly into the barrel right here. So it's a matter of, I mean, you probably can't hear the computer fan I have running behind me right now. And if I were to open my door over here, you wouldn't be able to hear the fan that's going on in the master bedroom while my wife's trying to sleep after working last night. So they're really, really nice in that regard. And you can turn the gain down and snug right up onto the microphone and still be heard really well. So I like it. Oh, that was
heard
lovely.
That.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm sure my neighbor heard that. All right. He's just he wants to have the best sounding audio, which I applaud because I can't stand podcasts that do not sound good. It's just like, why bother to spend all that time doing stuff if you're going to put out something that sounds like crap?
Yeah,
just gotta watch
that's a
out
pretty
for
good
what's
rule of
directly
thumb.
behind the mic. Oh my goodness, my nose can stop running now, please.
Yo.
I want to get these Procasters for the studio at Broken too.
Yeah.
Chris, I think you're using an SM58 right now, aren't you? I believe that he's using an SM58 currently. And they're nice mics. They're good for singing vocal and speaking vocal and stuff, but they can also be a little bit sensitive. I mean, you could build like a voice box around it. Take one of those cloth. Oh, it's a Sennheiser. Okay, you could take one of those cloth square boxes that you use for like storing things, and you can pack it with foam on all four sides and stick the mic stand in there, and that'll remove a lot of the sound bounce and everything. You just talk into the box, but it feels really awkward talking into a box. I mean, for most podcasters, it's not a big deal because they're not doing video with it, so it doesn't really matter that much. What they talk into doesn't matter because nobody sees it. But if you're doing something like what we're doing, that wouldn't work. It'd have like this big square box that would cover my face. Of course, maybe that would get us more views.
It might. It's kind of funny. My Ustream is stuck on me doing this and you doing this. So I'm going to refresh that sucker and see if that helps, but it's kind of funny.
Oh, man.
Yay, I'm moving again, and so are you.
What a concept.
I know.
I have a boom arm and a shock mount, but the mic doesn't fit at 100%, so I need to put a little foam around it. That can be helpful. It definitely can be helpful.
You know what else is good? Duct tape.
Duct tape
It'll
solves
fix
all
anything.
your problems.
That's right.
Exactly. Duct tape. Let me tell you a story of duct tape. Way back in the day. Yeah, forget that.
You don't know the power of the dark side.
I felt that was
Or
appropriate for the shirt I'm
or the
wearing today.
soundboard, as the case might be.
Yeah, the power of the soundboard. I need to come up with some new sounds.
Yeah.
Use 58.
I have a minion. He is a new.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, he's well. I don't know. I was just going off the whole Vader thing. Although I guess technically he came before Vader, so
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Maul.
Very nice. Darth Maul.
Wouldn't it be hilarious if he was just a little bit effeminate? Hello, I'm Mr. Maul.
Hi. Mr. Maul, Darth here.
I like to go to the mall. Ironic, don't you think?
Ooh, that sounds like a cool little podcast, like a video podcast with Lego guys. Mr. Maul does the mall.
I have a hard time finding hats.
These horns just make it so difficult.
Oh, gosh. But that's okay. Whenever a sales guy insults me, I just pull out the double lightsaber and just and no problem.
It's funny. I walk in the store now and I just get the best customer service ever.
I know. I'm such a hot mess.
Oh, my. All right. So, do we have any other news stuff besides the Random Hero album? Did you make a sheet?
I did not make a sheet.
Okay.
We're gonna
I
have
didn't
to
make a
wait.
sheet either. Really, Paul? Really? You had to go there?
All I did was laugh.
Yeah,
I think your mind
it's-
fit there
and
by
I
itself as
know.
well.
I know why you laughed. I know. Well, guys, I
find
have
that
to
hard to
go
believe.
shower. Blah blah blah.
Because you're lying. Oh, okay.
Kirk, have fun, dude.
yeah.
Oh, it's force with a PH. I like that. Have fun, Kirk. Enjoy the wedding. We'll be having more fun here than you are there. That's just my guess. But congrats on the vinyl purchase. Hopefully it ticks Paul off pretty well that you have that.
Hate you.
I just got a copy of the new Amerlin album. Tim dropped it in my Dropbox, but I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet.
Hate the both of you. I don't know. At the risk of getting myself in trouble, Tooth and Nail hasn't been nearly as responsive now that they've gone all completely independent and whatnot.
Oh, really?
At least to me, yeah.
That's funny because we're having no problems with them at all. It almost feels like it's better now. Yeah.
Oh, yes, it is.
Chris said he was going to shoot people at a wedding. Should we be watching CNN? Yes, we should.
We're going to feel really bad if he actually does that.
Yeah, I don't see that happening, but
I-
you know. Keep your eyes peeled for a white SUV heading down the highway in Nashville.
Is it a Bronco?
A white
There'd be a
Ford
very
Bronco.
long-
That's right.
Will there be a very long copter chase?
He's slowing down to a crawl, and the police are pulling back. Why are they pulling back?
Because if the glove does not fit, you must acquit.
Oh, Tim says my wife does that, and I come along as a witness to the shooting.
Oh, wow. we're just going downhill quick this
I
morning.
tell you, context is going to be everything with this show.
Yes, it is.
So we were talking before we started the stream, guys. We were talking about Jason Dunn from Hawk Nelson, and do you want to tell your side of the story, Paul, just with the whole Hawk Nelson guys up in Canada thing, just that portion of it?
Oh yeah, the guys from the original iteration of Hawk Nelson who were on their first album, Letters to the President. I got the impression it's just two of the guys from that section who aren't in the band anymore. I want to say there's still one man from that original version who might still be in the band, but I could be wrong. Anyway, they randomly got in contact with Jason Dunn, who of course was the original lead singer who left, one album ago or whatever. They're like, hey man, we should totally do a reunion tour, record some new music or something. It'd be fun. And he was like, man, you guys are kind of slow. You do realize the band's still going and it's still called Hawk Nelson. I'm just not in it. And they're like, oh, bummer. So
then I was trying to come up with band titles, for the new band if all three of them were to get together. And I started out with Hawk Swanson. Or Swanson. Hawk Swanson. And then I thought, well, what about Hawk Half Nelson? And then it hit me
they're the original.
that if it's all the original members, we should call it Hawk Full Nelson.
Yes.
Dun dun.
Oh, wait. I have the one that's perfect for that. I've been waiting for it.
Did I make a stinky?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's awesome. That is awesome. I think Chris and Tim actually got together for lunch when Tim was in the Nashville area last year or the year before.
Chris and Tim? You mean Kirk and Tim?
No, I mean Chris. Slam
Chris
Session. He lives in that area
okay,
too.
right.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
stupid!
Follow the convo.
Hey, stupid!
See, now I have very little to fight with. I need to get more.
I know. Can you believe it?
I'm having too much fun.
Yes.
All right. Are we we're probably not ready to kick this off, but we should do it anyhow. Episode 77. Oh, Chris, if you're getting commercials, you need to install AdBlock Pro into whatever web browser you're using and then relaunch the browser. It will be your best friend and you won't get commercials anymore.
This is true.
So, AdBlock Pro, whatever browser I use it with Chrome. It works really great with Chrome. Because I know you're on a Mac. So, AdBlock Pro, and I suggest Chrome, but that's personal preference. I use Safari for everything else, but when I'm doing video stuff, I always watch it on Chrome. All right. Are you ready there, Paul?
I do believe so.
I don't even know what we're doing today.
Musical pet peeves.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm like, this is the least prepared for a show I think I've ever been. So we'll wing it and see what happens. I'm sure we'll find plenty of stuff to talk about.
If nothing else, we'll retell the Hawk Nelson story again.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right. Well, I guess let's hit record in... Let's see. Is there anything other than Chrome? Oh, yeah. Okay. Gotcha. All right. Let's hit record in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of the Rock in a Hard Place podcast. My name is Chris Cooner. I'm a DJ with Broken FM. You can check us out online at broken.fm. If you like Christian rock music, then that is definitely the place to be. We want to thank Scientist real quick for that intro music. They donated that to us out of the goodness of their hearts, and we appreciate it very much. So if you want to check them out, just look up Scientist Music and give you a good idea of what they do. Great group of great group of guys. I didn't realize that was going to be a tongue twister, but apparently it is.
Very good guys.
Yeah, that voice.
It helps if you say it with a southern accent.
Great group of guys.
Yeah.
That voice you heard, that voice from the beyond. It's Paul Gibson.
The dreamy vocals coming to your earlobes right now are coming from my mouth. And in unison, that was lovely. Yes, this is Paul Gibson. I host the Christian Rock 20. And of course, I get to co-host this fun thing. And now the Christian Music Archive is back. So we're doing that again as well. So we'll see if any really cool rockin' ones come up, and who knows, maybe it'll make a reappearance in the Rockin' a Hard Place podcast sometime in the near future. But we'll see.
It won't necessarily be a consistent segment.
No,
it's just going to be a matter of if there's a rockin' one come up, we'll throw it down so that you guys can check it out and enjoy a little ear candy from Paul.
Right. Just true.
Now, Paul, you got an interesting tweet this week.
I did. I got an interesting tweet from Jason Dunn, the former lead vocalist for Hawk Nelson, who's been doing stuff on his own and also kind of starting a new band. And it's just been an interesting time for him, I think. And we're going to have an interview with him coming up, not this weekend, but the weekend that follows this one, the one that we're in right now. So this next weekend. And it's going to be probably the craziest, most confusing, convoluted interview ever. So you should definitely check it out. But yeah, he's got two new projects coming up in the near future. He's got one coming out under the name Jason Dunn, which will apparently be his final project under his own name, which will be
that whole story just kind of cracks me up. I've never known anyone who was not embarrassed per se, but concerned about putting an album out in their own name because they're afraid that it sounds too like uppity.
Well, I think it may be partially that. I think the other bit of it was just that he was like, it's a band now. It's not just me, and it feels weird to have me be the only name associated with an actual band that is going to stay as a band.
Okay, but then what about guys like Toby Mac? I mean, he's got a band that tours around with him and dancers and all of that kind of stuff, yet he's okay with just calling it Toby Mac.
Yeah, I can't answer to that.
I mean, I guess it boils down to being an individual thing. Like Jason's not comfortable doing it, and that's fine. I just think it's funny that he's taking that stance. That's all.
Yes, I do too. Because I mean, Steve Taylor's done it, and his example of Peter Furler. Although now it's the Peter Furler Band, so it's actually got a band name. It's not just Peter Furler.
But that's like, I'm not creative enough to come up with a name for the band, so I'm just going to add band to my name, and we're going to call it good.
Right, pretty much.
I mean, David Crowder was kind of the same way, wasn't it? Wasn't it the David Crowder Band or something like that?
Now it's just Crowder.
Right. Right. Rich Mullins was, I think, Rich Mullins and the Ragamuffin Band, I want to say.
Yeah, which was the name of the band who toured with him, but it wasn't until maybe I think his final release that the Ragamuffin Band was actually part of the recording label. And the same thing with Steve Taylor. It was Steve Taylor and some band for a long time.
Gotcha.
And then now it's, of course, Steve Taylor and the Perfect Foil. And, I mean, it's been kind of done that way for, off and on for a while. And technically, Toby Mac is Toby Mac in the Diverse City Band.
Sometimes.
Oh.
I don't think he always travels with Diverse City.
Oh.
I could be wrong.
Well,
I could be wrong.
I will take your word for it. I don't know.
Possible. But anyhow, I guess the main thing, though, was Jason texted you to tell you about this stuff tweeted you to tell you about this stuff. And you actually have the song that he's releasing.
Well, and I don't know how much he's releasing. I don't know if it's going to be a single or not, but it's going to be on the next release, on his Lights Go Down release, which is it's so confusing. Listen to the interview if you want to understand it all, because it is ridiculous. You almost need a flowchart to completely understand how he gets from point A to point B and all this. But it is being released not under his name, but under the name Lights Go Down. And although Lights Go Down is the band, all of the stuff that's on this acoustic EP that he's releasing, I believe, is just him with an acoustic guitar. So as if that wasn't quite confusing enough, if you listen to the whole thing and understand how much name swapping he's done over the past 3 years. It is redonkulous.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a pretty decent song, and we're going to feature the whole thing in the upcoming episode of the Christian Rock 20. But here's a little taste, and you can also catch it on SoundCloud. I won't bogart it and tell you that you can't hear the full thing anywhere but my show. So if you want to check out Lights Go Down on SoundCloud, this song is up there. It's called Now or Never, and here's a little clip to whet your appetite.
I hope you're writing this stuff down so you don't forget me. How I need you more than I ever did. My heart is yours for the taking. This love we have has never felt so real.
And it was funny because when I told him that I liked it, I also kind of lightly told him that it sounded kind of like the original Lights Go Down stuff, which was what he released right after he left Hawk Nelson, but never actually released to the public because he thought it was too mopey and singer-songwritery and not him at all. I was like, it sounds like you in a good way, but it doesn't sound quite as sad or as kind of, introverted or something. And he goes, well, the truth be known, I only have one style. Everything's pop punk. I'm like, well, this isn't really pop punk. He goes, yeah, but what you have to understand is all the songs that were like Hawk Nelson songs that you maybe know and love that I wrote, they started like this and then we just beefed them up afterwards. I'm like, oh, okay, sure, whatever.
Nice.
So anyway, so Lights Go Down. He's going to be releasing one more album, like I said, underneath his own name, Jason Dunn, which I think will be fairly pop punkish. And apparently, this comes out in the interview too, but there's going to be a song in Spanish. If you want to know the story behind that, which is really very odd, then you definitely should check out the interview. Like I said, this is without question one of the weirdest interviews I have ever done.
Yeah.
No pun intended. So, he's a crazy, crazy dude, and it's so much fun to talk to him because you never know what's going to happen. And this was the most confusing thing ever, but it's so worth it. Anyway, so he's going to be releasing that, and then the song that you just heard, which is technically by Lights Go Down, will be released as I think a free EP called the Acoustic Sessions, which will be dropping, I want to say, August 18th.
Okay.
And I think it's just going to be a digital download thing.
Gotcha. Wow, that's a lot of info.
Yeah, considering it's basically all centered around one song.
Right, exactly. Well, and like you said, listen to the interview and hear the confusion with Jason Dunn versus Lights Go Down versus Hawk Nelson versus, all of the above.
And then it all doubles back on itself like a bad time travel movie.
Yeah, exactly. So it all gets, it's all very crazy and convoluted and all of that good stuff. So. Yes, it is. Well, speaking of new music, apparently Random Hero has been secretly working on a new album, and they are going to drop it next week. Mm-hmm. So, that's a little crazy. I had not heard much of anything about this album. It looks like it's called Oceans of Change. Which is an interesting name. And if you go to their Facebook page, it'll actually take you to their YouTube video, so you can check that out. This was a surprise to me. Tom Labonte actually sent me Facebook messaged us. I can't talk today. Son of a gun. Facebook messaged us. To ask if we knew that they were dropping a new record, and I had to admit that I had not heard that yet. So they tweeted out that I guess next Friday when the new record. I don't understand this, because Red Jumpsuit did the same thing. Of course, theirs made a little bit of sense because the album was called 4, and they released it on the 4th.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I get that tie-in. Fridays are not album release days. Tuesdays are album release days. Tuesday.
Which is kind of arbitrary. I know that there was a reason like 70 years ago why it went to Tuesdays. I don't know if anyone knows what that reason is anymore other than the fact that it just is Tuesdays, just like the reason why movie release days are on Fridays and if it's a really big deal, a Thursday.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really understand it either. And, I don't know. I mean, they're on Red Chord, and there's a lot of things about Red Chord that always strike me weird in some ways. They seem to handle some things in a different way a good chunk of the time. Not necessarily say it's the wrong way or the bad way.
Right,
It's just
right.
different. But yeah, and of course, like you said, you can check out their music video for their new song "Burn Up the Night," and I'm hoping that they'll send that out as a single sometime soon, because those guys are very interesting. They're we were talking before we turned on the stream that they are quite possibly one of the most creepy looking, at least semi-popular Christian rock bands out there. I mean, they're not one of those underground bands that you go see with like 5 other people in Norway that they play once a year or something. I mean, they have singles, they do chart and all that,
Right.
but several of the band members are just like uber creepy. Don't get me wrong, I like it.
Yeah.
But still, them and Love and Death are probably the only 2 bands that I've seen that I'm just like, wow, you guys are just all kinds of creepy looking.
Oh my! We've talked to one of the guys from Random Hero before, and I mean they seem like a really great group of guys. So I mean that aspect of it's cool. I can't say I'm like a huge fan of all of their stuff.
Yeah.
Like just some of it, I don't know. Their lead vocalist has kind of this scratchy vocal that, for me personally, sometimes gets annoying.
Ah.
There's the gravel of like a Kurt Cobain or even like Scott Stapp, some of his growling and that kind of stuff that I enjoy. It's okay for me to listen to for long periods of time. Random Hero, I have to take in small doses.
Nah.
And it just, like I said, it's me. That's not saying that they're a terrible band. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that for me, I can't listen for long periods of time to their stuff because there's just these annoyances that I find with the way the vocal is done. And I'm probably in the minority with that, and I get it. So,
Well, I'm going to be even worse. I'm trying to remember. I know their songs because they've had several that have charted, and I know I enjoyed them. I couldn't tell you what the songs were, which is probably horrible and maybe a huge insult to a band being like, I don't find your music memorable. But it's not so much that. It's just I go through so much music on any given year that it does get lost to a certain degree. But I do remember liking their stuff. I don't remember what I thought overall of their last EP. I remember thinking it was good, but I don't know if I thought it was like, to the moon and back awesome. But yeah, I don't know. They're an interesting band, and I'm curious to see what they will do now that they're actually on a label. Mind you, Red Chord is not a huge label, so it's not like they got signed to Sony or something. But at the same time, it'll be interesting to see if they have any sort of artistic push one way or another. Although Red Chord does feel like they're somewhat of a hands-off kind of label.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't know.
So Tim is reminding you of the songs Breakdown and Freak Show were the 2 that got a lot of airplay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Freak Show I thought was pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And that's why I say if the song comes on the radio, I'm not going to flick the dial. It doesn't bother me that much. But to sit down and listen to the entire album,
do you normally flick the dial?
No, I'm not a dial flicker.
Because that just sounds painful. I'm just trying to imagine you like thumping your dial. I'm like, man, seems like that would be bad for your stereo and your finger.
It's all push. Well, actually, my new stereo's touch screen, so I'd have to touch it.
Of course it is.
What can I say? My neighbor was getting rid of his. It's
okay.
And my neighbor's always good to me. So I got a nice Pioneer with the built-in navigation and iPod connector, and it'll actually you can play DVDs or you can put movies on a SD card and slide it in there, and it's got a 7-inch touch screen, and it's really nice, and he's letting it go for $100. I'm like, that's a $1,200 stereo.
Wow.
So he just wanted to he bought one for his Jeep, and didn't want to. And listen to this. The reason he bought a new one is because when he tried to plug his iPod in, it wouldn't always register. It would kick back an error and say, device not supported or something along those lines. Well, I found out that the reason that was because he wasn't using the Pioneer cable. He bought an aftermarket cable for it. Yeah. So I went out and spent like $40 on a Pioneer cable, and I haven't had a problem with it since. So
have you had the heart to tell him yet?
He knows.
Oh.
He knows. I told him, I said, well, I think the problem's the cable. You're using an aftermarket cable. And he's like, well, I already paid to have this one installed, so knock yourself out. Okay. Thanks, bud. Love ya. So yeah, it was one of those. It was one of those random things that he had it set and boom.
Wow.
So Tim is saying that he listened to their last record the other day and he really enjoyed it. So I'm
Cool.
glad, totally glad.
You go, Tim.
Just not my thing, and that's okay.
Well, shoot. Well, I mean, there is a little bit of news to talk about, but do you want to stick that later because you already got into stuff that isn't your thing?
Oh well, sure. We can go ahead and discuss. One of the topics that we had talked about doing today was kind of our musical pet peeves. Like, what is it about either maybe a particular track or a particular band that just rubs us the wrong way? And again, it's not necessarily that these things are bad things for the band to do. It's just our own personal experiences have caused us to be jaded towards bands that do this particular thing, whatever it may be.
Yes.
So apparently Random Hero is one of my pet peeves. So why don't you go ahead and share something from your side of the story there, Paul?
Well, this is a fairly new thing. This is something that I think has come to be a habit in pop music, and it creeps into like dubstep and various electronic dance music styles. And I was trying to think of a way to explain exactly what it is. And I'm going to play you just a little clip of it just so that it doesn't have to be explained quite as much. But the way I think of it is it's almost like a reverse keyboard sustain with a beat at the beginning, or almost like a reverse beat. And sometimes it's both. But this is an example. And for whatever reason, it just drives me nuts. And there's a few pop songs that are like getting airplay on pop radio right now that use this. And to me, it just sounds terrible. But it's just me. This is a clip from, I don't even guess I really need to tell you what the clip is from. It's from a mainstream, like, kind of, as far as I know, kind of a nobody in the electronic dance music world. It's a track that I got for free off of a website that it was legal, but still, not one of my favorites. But this will just give you an example of this whole, like, backwards beat, backwards keyboard sustain thing. That's the only thing I know how to describe it as. But see what you guys think. That blah blah blah.
Yeah, it's kind of
drives me nuts.
Kind of a dubstep type. Yeah,
Yeah,
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and it's weird because I like dubstep and I like a ton of things that dubstep does.
Yeah,
but that weird little blah 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 when and a lot of times it will just be a drum kick that's backwards.
Right.
And I get that they're trying to do something different, and it's hard to come up with something completely original in music. I totally get that.
Yeah.
But some things aren't done kind of for a reason.
Right.
And to me, that's one of those things. So that just drives me up the walls. So
Yeah.
that's me. Gets my dander up.
I get it. No, that's good. That's good. Lyrics for me are a major reason that I listen to music. I mean, I love the music itself, but lyrics to me are kind of the main reason that I really want to tune in. And to me, that's what helps share the heart of the band, or at least the lyricist, the person who develops the lyrics.
Right.
And so if the lyrics are crappy, it really ticks me off. Like, you honestly couldn't have taken 5 more minutes to come up with a better phrase.
Right.
Kind of thing, So, and I'm going to give you an example from a mainstream song. When Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas, she did kind of a solo thing. And there was this song she did that was hugely popular for some reason, called... what was it? Big Girls Don't Cry, or Girls Don't Cry, or something along those lines.
Yeah. Big Girls Don't Cry.
Yeah.
I hated that song with a passion.
Yeah, she's got a thing in there.
Lot.
She's got a line in this song that I just to this day, when I hear it, just the hair on the back of my neck stands up. And the line goes, "And I'm going to miss you like a child misses its blanket." And I'm thinking to myself, that has got to be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard.
There's a different line from that I can't remember at the time, but there is one line from that just kind of like viscerally hits me in a horribly bad way too. So I understand.
Yeah.
But then again, that song was one of those ones that I totally could not understand why it was popular.
It was popular
I really
because
didn't get it.
the tune was catchy. I get that. But I just, anytime that, seriously, I am not the kind of guy that will flick through the dial to change. But that is one song that when it comes on, I'm pushing the button.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I'm pushing the button and I'm switching to another station. And, it's rare for me that something bugs me that badly. But that was one song that just drove me batty. And I'm sure that if I took the time, I could sit down and come up with Christian rock examples that have similar lyrics to where I sit there and I go, oh, really? Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of them are in the AC market. Right, those are the ones that I struggle with a lot because you can't ever tell. Well, and we've covered this. Are you talking about God or are you talking about your boyfriend or girlfriend? Because I'm really confused right now on who this song is meant to be sung to because you haven't said God or Jesus.
Right.
You know? So who are you actually talking about? So I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
So ambiguity in songs, that'd be another thing that kind of bugs me is, be clear with your message. There's some things that you can leave open to interpretation and I'm okay with that. Yeah. But, I think that if you're going to do a song, you need to have some semblance of a clear message in what it is that you're singing or saying or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you.
2 for 1.
I hear you. And it's funny talking about really cheesy lyrics. I was trying to find the lyrics while we were talking. Oh, maybe this is it. Or maybe it's just another website that's like, oh, well, the lyrics could be here if you wrote them.
Yeah.
We would love to have your content. I think that's probably more or less what it is. But anyway, there was this Christian hip hop artist named Mike E. And he toured with Michael W. Smith, played, I think, guitar for him. And there was one line from this song called Housin', as in we're housin', house partying or whatever.
Okay.
But it was something about make a hole that you could drop a mouse in, me and my father are housing. And that was like the dumbest, cheesiest lyric in Christian rap history, I'm pretty sure. And I never thought about it at the time until my brother really liked him at that point as well. And we were talking about it. He's like, man, you have to wonder if he was just really desperate to finish up that song. There wasn't anything else that he could think of in that moment. Yeah. So it's like, oh, there's a hole that I could drop a mouse in. Yeah. It's like, you have to wonder if he just kicks himself every time he has to perform that song. Of course, I don't have any clue what he's doing now, which is a pity because he was a really talented guitar player. And I just remember what else he's known for. He was played the guitar solo on Walls by DC Talk.
Oh, okay.
That's probably what his most notable
famous
recorded thing was. Yeah.
Okay.
But
well,
anyway,
that's good.
That's some fun cheesiness right there.
Wow.
Okay, so here's a new pet peeve of mine that I just discovered, and I hate to say this, but I just discovered it with the new Disciple single.
Uh-oh.
I'm a little sad, which is pity because I like the song on the whole.
Yeah.
But they tried something new with this that worries me a little bit. Have you heard the new single yet?
I have not.
Okay. Well, the song's called Radical. It sounds very easily like it could belong on like maybe their self-titled album or, pretty much I guess it could be on any of the ones since then. But it's pretty heavy throughout the whole thing. And then it kind of does this. Here we go.
Not just my mouth, but let my hands speak the glory of God. Not just my mouth, but let my hands.
Ah, yes, the praise and worship hand-raising breakdown in the middle of an otherwise very heavy song.
I think that's
Kevin?
probably the closest you'll ever get to a Disciple worship album.
Me no likey. Me no likey at all. I almost want to edit the song in Audition to where that part is gone. Because the rest of the song I think is really good. But it has this weird, like, 45-second interlude in the middle of the song where you're just going, everyone's going from moshing around to being like, I lost my mind in my glory. And I'm just going, don't do that. You killed a good song. So anyway, I was hoping when I saw the live, because they put out that live video that you can watch of them performing that song, and they did that before they released the single. And when they did that live, I'm like, oh gosh, I hope that's not on the record. I hope they just randomly did that. And then I listened to the single, I'm like, no, they did that on the record. That's just great. They did that on the record.
Oh, I saw you. I think you posted something about this on your Facebook page or something, that there was this portion that you were. Oh, Tim says musical poop breakdown. Tim's words this time, not yours.
Which is sad because I really like Disciple, but I don't know. And on some level, this is kind of what I might have been a little bit worried about when they were going independent. I'm like, when they started saying, we're so happy because we don't have anyone telling us to say Jesus more or Jesus less, or we need to dumb it down. I'm like, you haven't? Wait a minute, you've been dumbing it down?
Yeah.
And that's what was killing me. I'm just going, I never thought of Disciple at any point in your career as being a band that dumbed anything down.
Yeah.
And that kind of worried me. And I'm like, okay. Because, I mean, I think it's still a good song. It's still a good song.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with the song. I would just cut it right before that. That MP breakdown there. So... yeah, I
will the edited version be making its rounds on your show? Will you be clipping that out and trying to restitch it?
No, that's just wrong. And I think I would get an evil message from either their management or Kevin himself being like, "What did you do to my song?"
Yeah.
And I would be like, "Sorry, Kevin. I don't know what to tell you. That part's bad."
Oh my goodness, that's funny.
And I say it's bad. That's totally my opinion. The thing that worries me the most about it is I know they have always said they will never be doing praise and worship music. I'm proud of them for that, but I don't know. I know how quickly soccer moms latch onto something small that becomes something big later, and that kind of worries me.
Oh my.
So I hope that it is one of those things where it's like all of a sudden I start hearing this 45-second long Disciple song on Air One. They're like, what is this? This is the interlude from Radical. It's the best thing ever. I hear they're going to do a whole new album of just this.
Yeah.
Well, of course, if they really wanted to make it true praise and worship for them, they could just loop that over and over.
Totally. Yeah, just repeat the same thing over and over and over again. Yeah, I hear that. That sounds like a plan. It's their best-selling album ever. 30 seconds looped. Oh man. What's the world coming to?
I don't know.
I mean, next you're going to be telling me Red's going to leave the strings off their next album. Oh wait.
They kind of tried that one.
Didn't that happen already?
I think that did.
The sky is falling. The sky is falling. It hit me on the head.
Which is funny to me because up until the stuff that they did where they added the strings back, I always kind of thought of the strings as being an intro and an outro to their songs. I never really thought it being that much like all over the place.
It's hard for me to believe that people noticed that they were gone and revolted that badly to where
it is funny because I never even I listen to music partially kind of for a living to a certain degree. And I didn't notice.
Yeah.
And nor did I miss it.
I thought that the songs were fine as they were. I really didn't notice that. I don't know. I guess I'm not a Red Uber fan. Apparently I'm not. Apparently I'm not with it enough to have noticed. To have noticed that. So I guess I need to hand in my red card. And no, that was not a soccer reference, just for those. Or football, depending on where you're from.
See, I thought it was just a communist reference.
Yeah.
There you go, Mr. McCarthy.
That's right. Oh, man. Well, we're not Hollywood elite, so we can't be communists.
That's right.
So, The next pet peeve that I am going to talk about is strictly from a radio person's perspective, like a DJ radio person type perspective.
Well,
And
that
Tim-
makes me think of one for me. So if this one, if the one that I'm thinking of isn't yours, I've got one that'll go directly after that.
Okay, great. So Tim will know exactly what I'm talking about with this. The song that Project 86 has done called Sincerely Ichabod. Great song. Love the song. Let me be clear on that. Really love the song. However, when that song is playing on the radio and I happen to be listening, there's these portions of the song where it just stops. Now, if you're listening in headphones, you can hear there's like a little tiny piano,
Right.
little piano interlude or something like that. It is not audible when you're driving down the freeway with your stereo on. That song gives me a heart attack every time because he's going along, dead air. And then he's back again.
We made people nervous with that. See,
I know.
I'm sure
that
it
was
made
on
other people
that was on
nervous.
purpose.
Yeah,
That was on purpose.
I thought so too. That was ingenious. I like that.
So guys, if you're gonna put a song out for the radio, don't leave intentional dead spaces. If the song's never gonna see the light of day on the radio, leave all the dead air you want. Leave it all in there. Make the whole thing dead air track. Just call it dead air. It's just nothing. Just complete silence. That's fine with me. Let it be interpretive. But don't submit that song to me for play on the radio. It doesn't work that way. Pet peeve.
Okay, mine is different than that, believe it or
good.
not. Although that was one that I was thinking of because also the same thing tends to happen in House of Heroes songs. They have a lot of false endings,
Yes.
which I love House of Heroes. I love Project 86, but at the same time, I totally know what you mean. And luckily, because my show is pre-produced, I don't have to deal with those panic moments anymore. But yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally when
Yeah.
I used to work at Power FM and Dallas, and even worse when I was working at NPR and we would do nighttime classical pieces, those really quiet things,
Yes.
would have me like bolt upright running across the room at
Yeah.
full speed. And I, sure enough, how we get like just inside the studio door and then you hear, dun, 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 dun. I'm like, oh, thank God. You're killing me.
It's
But,
terrible. It's
yeah.
terrible. I remember we were at a when I worked for a local top 40 station here in town. This was many years ago. I was at the Christmas party, and they weren't playing that particular radio station over the speakers. It was like Muzak, something along those lines. I mean, it's similar styles of music, but it was this restaurant in this big party room we had, and everybody's talking, blah blah blah. Everything's going fine, and all of a sudden we noticed that the music stops. And seriously, it was a room full of radio people. Everyone stopped, and they're just kind of waiting. And then the music came back on, and everyone's like, "Oh, okay, everything must be fine." It's like
Yeah.
you won't get it if you're not in radio because you're not dependent on that music continuing to flow. You can stop and start whenever you want,
Right.
But when it
Yeah.
goes dead in the middle for seemingly no reason, it's like panic time.
Like, oh my goodness, what just happened?
It's like, what's broken? What do I need to fix? I got to get down to the studio. I've got my kids. What am I supposed to do with them while I'm down there trying to fix this? Oh my goodness, blah, blah, blah. Oh, it's not worth it. And all of that goes through your mind in about like 10 seconds, 10 to 15 seconds. It's like it all hits. And then all of a sudden, off with their heads. And you're
Yeah.
back and everything's fine. It's just, okay. I took you away from yours. So why don't you go back and tell
Well,
me.
that's okay. I was actually looking for the example of mine because I have one that it has to do with the beginning of a song.
Okay.
So I'm looking. I know I'm like 99% sure the beginning of this song is the perfect example, and I'm hoping that the volume will be okay. Otherwise, I guess I'll just adjust it. But there is this song that is just an example of other songs that are also like this. It has nothing to do necessarily with just this song by itself. So I'm not ragging on every song that this band has done, but these guys and Red have both had a couple of songs like this, and there are others. I think Ivory Line and maybe one or two other bands had also songs like this. But this is once again an example that only really applies to radio people, but it drives me nuts. It is we had two songs that morphed from one to the other, and the track split is in the middle. We're not going to do anything to the beginning of the song to change it for radio play. We're just going to send it to you. So the song starts just like this. And I know that sounds like that's like normal, but it's just like it hits like almost in a half note. It's like,
Yeah.
and you're just like, it just sounds awkward to me, and it drives me nuts every time I had to have. Luckily, that song's fallen out of the countdown, but that is, in case you didn't know, that's Not Gonna Die by Skillet.
Which is a great song, but I'm right there
song.
with you. It starts, it's like too abrupt.
Right. And there's a song by Red that does the exact same thing, and I can't remember which one it is. Let me see. I don't know.
So
anyway,
then the converse to that, though, is songs that have these long, quiet intros.
Yes.
Because then again, you think it's like this dead air. Like, I can't remember the song exactly that I'm thinking of, but it's got this like bass line where it's like, and it's got this really low thing that, if you're in a car with subs, you're gonna feel it, so you're gonna know there's something there.
Yeah.
But if you're not, if you're just in, a little tiny Honda that doesn't have much of a stereo system in it, then you're not going to know that anything's really playing. So you're either going to think the station's off the air, or there's some kind of a problem with the track, or whatever the case may be. And so I'll actually go in and try and eliminate that so that the song will start closer to where I need something, like
Playing
without totally crushing
Yeah.
on what the artist is trying to get. And that's why, honestly, radio edits are so important for that kind of thing. Yeah, it sounds different on the CD. Who cares?
Right.
The fact is that I have a job to do in getting people music, and dead air, like if we were a commercial station, dead air costs money.
Yeah.
When it sounds like it's dead, that's dollar bills. The idea is that dollar bills are just being thrown out the window
Right.
because you're not making money on dead air.
Yeah.
So it's
Absolutely.
that kind of attitude that we take. I know, when Tim and I first started working together, I had to go through and show him, okay, this is how you do the intro and this is how you do the outro. And when you click to start the next song, you want to make sure that it's as close to the last note as possible so that it'll slam that next song right up against it. And there's times where he'll go in and set it, and for whatever reason the computer doesn't like save the data. Like I know that he goes through and I know that he knows how to set it and that he does it, and because he's the one who does all the inputting of all the brand new music and stuff. But there's times where I'll hear a long tail on a song and I'm like, man, that's just too long.
Right.
You know, it's just, you can't have that long sustain at the end, and especially if it's fading. That long sustain at the end is just a killer for radio. It's like when the main body of the song is done, you get a portion of that fade, but as soon as it drops down to where I kind of feel that nothing is gonna, that most people in their cars are not gonna hear anything, that's when I'm setting the button to be able to end of music and start the next song.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
it's trying to find that balance, and that's something that you can teach, but you also have to have an ear for it. You gotta listen to it. And so I know I put that onto Tim when he started doing a lot of the when he took over all the new music and stuff. And normally it's not a problem, but every once in a while the computer will not save the info that he's put. And then it bugs me, and I'm like, I got to go in and change that song. I've got to go in and change that song. But the only time I think about it is when I'm driving down the road listening to the radio. And then when I get to the studio, I'm like, what song was that I was going to change? I don't remember.
Right.
So, just it's one of those crazy random things.
Right. And I'll throw in another thing that's kind of one of those radio people pet peeves about certain songs. And this is usually pop radio and hip hop songs, but when there's a bunch of talking over like the first 10 seconds of it, that it's just like whoever just completely repping themselves that they're about to be on this song, that drives me nuts. And luckily I haven't had to deal with that too much since leaving Top 40.
That's what bothered me about the whole Church Clothes DJ Cannon mix.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
because it's like the intro to the song is playing. Huh? What? DJ Cannon? What?
Yeah.
In house. Shout out to Boo and Little Dog and My Man and Hauser. And I'm like, who are you and why are you messing with Lecrae's music?
Right.
So-
Right. And that, I kind of get that, but at the same time, it is irritating. But it's even worse when it's a radio song because it's one of those things where it's going to be played over and over again. And you know that people are going to get sick of it by like the third time they hear that part.
Right.
It's just, and that also brings me to another little pet peeve that is not a song specific, but more a track specific, if that makes more sense.
Sure.
I find it horribly annoying, even though I get it in the moment how this happens, and it doesn't happen as much, but whenever there's like goofy little interludes or like skits in between songs on a CD, that you have to go in and you import them into your iTunes and you have to go through and delete them all.
Right. Right. Now, some of them are okay. Like, DC Talk has their little willpower, that kind of thing, and the Jesus Freak Revisited as though the guy's a lounge singer. I think that's hysterical. Some of them are worth it, but others just not. It's like, skip. I wanted 15 songs.
Right.
I got 10 songs and 5 bits of crap.
Yeah. Well, and it's especially.
I feel like I should get part of my
prevalent.
money back on that.
Right, especially prevalent like in hip hop stuff.
Yeah.
And some artists are more prone to it than others. And it's funny because I get that, and to me it's like it's usually amusing the first or second time that you listen to it, and after that you're just going, I really wish I had just a delete option for the CD itself. I mean, I suppose I could reburn it without those tracks on there, but that seems like a lot of work.
Yeah, totally. There was one. Let me see if I can dig it up real quick from SFC, Soldiers for Christ. Let me see if I can find it real fast here. Of course, my internet's having issues, so I probably won't be able to.
Probably not.
You know how that goes.
You know how we do.
You know how it rolls. Well, we'll keep talking, and I'll dig them up and bring them in. They won't take very long, but it's those things to me done well enough that it makes it okay. But you're right. It's a hip hop album that it's on, and that's where typically you hear a lot of that. Now, what about when you hear let's say the new In Crowd by Rapture Ruckus, I think it is.
Yeah.
Where he's sitting there going, hey, ho, and all of that at the beginning of the song. As a radio guy, do you try and talk over that for the intro, or do you consider that enough of the song to where you can't use that as a ramp?
Well, do we need to explain what a ramp is?
Why don't you explain what a ramp is?
A ramp is kind of when we do, and it's funny because this is one of those things that I've, for the most part, people who are really passionate about it are really passionate one way or another. Either you're passionate as a radio person because you like talking over a ramp, which is kind of like the low or instrumental part of the beginning of a song, and you can talk up to either where the music gets really loud and aggressive or where the vocal starts. And to a radio person, it's called hitting the post.
Yep.
Whenever you can talk to the point where you know exactly when to shut up and get out, and then all of a sudden the music kicks in. For some reason, we as DJs think that is like the coolest thing ever.
It is the coolest thing ever.
It is the coolest thing ever.
I don't know what you're talking about. It is absolutely the coolest thing to hit the post.
Right, which is one of those things where it comes with practice and it comes with knowing where the song, where the song bits are to where it works. But it's funny because on the other side, I know there are some radio listeners who hate it when DJs do that.
Well,
They're
typically
like,
the
whole
ones
song.
So typically the ones who hate it are the ones that are trying to record it,
right,
so
with
that
like
they
a
can
set
listen
tape.
to it off. So you've just completely ruined their illicit recording of this track that's playing on the radio.
Exactly, and that's kind of where that stems from. And a lot of people just like have this obsession with hearing the entire song like 100%, like until the last little sustain is gone and whatever. Right. I'm not that worried about that. But anyway, that's what a ramping up is. But as far as in crowd, I don't talk over the beginning of that. What I have done though is I have made it to where because on the Christian Rock 20, before each song it'll say something like number 4. I have made it to where it's separated, where it's like dun dun number dun dun 4, and I think that's kind of fun.
Right.
But I wouldn't actually talk over it with the vocal being there. The vocals had to be like really low. Like I would definitely talk over like the beginning chant of the new Switchfoot song, where it's like yeah, totally talk over that. There's nothing there. I mean, it's cool. I think they kind of halfway anticipated that when they did that,
right?
Because otherwise, it seems like it would be a little louder. But yeah, I would totally talk over that. But as far as the in crowd, not so much.
Okay.
It's aggressive enough, and with the vocal there, it kind of makes it seem like it. But yeah, I would definitely either talk in between the beats on that, or throw in something like the numbers or something like something of that nature, and I think that's cool.
Right, totally. No, and I think I'm right there with you on that one. I mean, I love a good ramp. I love long intros, especially if you've got a lot of information that you want to deliver. I feel like, talking over dead air is great for podcasting and that kind of stuff. It's not that big a deal. Although I do listen to podcasts who have music running throughout.
Right.
In the background. It's really low. You almost can't hear it, but it just kind of helps flesh out some of those tones, and it'll help eliminate some background noise that the microphone may pick up, and that kind of thing. It'll kind of balance all of that together. And so it's completely okay to do it that way. But I would much rather have a musical ramp, and if I can have 15 to 20 seconds, I can get my thoughts out. And then it's always a matter of you always think better of yourself when you manage to hit the post, knowing that most people listening have no clue what an awesome thing you just accomplished.
You're like, I just created the Renoir of radio.
That's
just
exactly
right there.
That's exactly right. Instead of Tim's Vermeer, it's Chris's Vermeer.
Right.
I managed to recreate a classic right there in my own studio, and I just put it out there for the entire world to enjoy. And I'm probably the only one who cares that it sounded as good as it did. But hitting that post, I tell you, there's something for a DJ hitting the post that is just an amazing feeling when you can hit it and have your thought completed and understandable. That's the best feeling ever.
Yeah, because there's few things worse than realizing that you don't have as much time left on your ramp as you thought you did, and you're like, and that's what I was talking about right now on Broken FM.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Or you end up just stopping mid-sentence because you don't want to talk over the vocal.
Yeah, and this is homework for you listeners. Next time you're listening to normal radio stuff, listen for a couple of days. You will hear people who don't hit the post at all because they will accidentally step all over the beginning of the song, and it's so funny.
Yeah. Tim is reminding me that "Oh Praise Him" by Sleeping Giant has 103 seconds of intro.
Oh yeah,
and I think
that.
I think we can only. I don't remember, Tim. I think that our system would only do up to like 90 seconds. So there's actually more than because what's cool about the automation system we use is that it actually gives you set a time at the beginning, and it'll actually do a countdown for you. So know when the post is coming up and when to be done. But I think our system would only do like 90 seconds max. So we actually have more time than is listed within the system to be able to talk over it. But if you want to do some nice delivery, "Oh Praise Him" is a great song, but that song I think is also like 6 or 7 minutes long or something like that too. So it's a very long track as well.
Yeah, you could do like a commercial, a couple of promos, a traffic report, the weather, the stock report, all of that over the beginning of that song.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's the
and you could also introduce the song.
Yes. Well, and you have to remember to do that too, because you talk over the ramp, and you gotta make sure that the last thing you say is the call letters, but right before that, you want people to know what song it is that's coming up. Right. But you can give out tons of information in 15 seconds about whatever it is, that you want to talk about, events coming up, dish out the phone number, the text line, whatever the case may be. It's a pet peeve of me to hear people talking on the radio and not talking over intros.
Yeah.
That's me. I personally prefer the ramp. Not everybody does. The drawback to our automation system is that you can go in and voice track, so you can go in and record your show. The problem is that we don't have it set up properly, and I haven't figured out how to make it work right to where it will actually allow you to adjust the ramp of the song so that you can start it faded and bring it up. It's like when the song hits, it's at full volume. So if you're talking and you launch the song too early, your vocal just gets, your voice track just gets buried. So we have
I've heard plenty of stations that are bigger than Broken FM who haven't figured that out yet either.
It's so crazy. So if we're voice tracking, it's going to be over dead air. There's no way around it. Unfortunately, we don't have a choice. So it is what it is, and we just have to smile and nod and deal with it.
Yeah, and it's funny talking about preferring the ramp and not wanting to do it just totally, going straight into a song after you're done. When I worked at Power FM in Dallas, they the way they put it was they wanted to do it as kind of like old school album rock radio, which is, I guess, what you did for whatever reason with that format. Mm-hmm. And he was the program director at the time, was very against talking over intros, which of course, having just come from Top 40 radio station, went against everything I believed in.
Right. Yeah,
like,
that's exactly
really?
right.
Like, you don't want me to start the song until I shut up? Really? Okay.
Yeah, honestly, that's not the way to do it, in my opinion. The intros are there for a reason, and that's
well,
that's
and I think to a certain degree, I think a lot of the decisions that they ended up making as far as what they wanted to do or didn't want to do had a lot to do with, if there's any chance that you might screw it up, we don't want you to do it.
Right.
Because it was like, there was that. They didn't really want you to do like playback phone calls. So if you got a contest, that you would just say, oh, so-and-so won. You didn't actually play the person winning. And I was like, really?
Yeah. See, unfortunately, we don't have the ability to quickly record, edit, and rebroadcast phone calls. Yeah. So, we don't have that ability right now. But when I worked for the local Top 40 station, that was a big thing. They used to do it on reel-to-reel, and they would actually set it, cue it, and all of that, and then play it back over the air on reel-to-reel. And then they got the digital phone system, which was fantastic, and that allowed us to be able to go in. It actually brought up the waveform and all of that kind of stuff to where we could see it and use it and edit, and boom, right there, compact it all, make it ready to go, and then just hit play, bring up the phone channel, and it would play instantly.
Right.
So a lot of good stuff in that, honestly.
Cool.
Loved that. Any other pet peeves that you have there, Paul, to share?
Some broad ones. As of course we talked before, I hate it when bands go from being a rock band to a praise and worship band. That irks me. I can understand doing an album every now and then, but it never feels like bands are as rocking as they were before a praise and worship album.
Yeah.
It just never feels like they get that back once they go that route. The other thing is kind of weird, and I should have pulled up a clip of this, but there's this one band, I don't remember their name for sure, but they had a female vocalist, and the thing that was a musical pet peeve for me, and I feel like I'm being somehow hypocritical because I'm sure there are other bands that do it that I don't care as much, but it felt like she somehow never actually had her lips close.
Oh.
So if she was singing, it was like, and then I went and then all night, and it was just, everything was just like, every word bleeded one into the other. And I was just going, what are you doing? And, the sad thing is I liked the music of the album. The lyrics weren't bad, but for whatever reason, it felt like everything just completely went from one word into the next. And it didn't even feel like there was like there was no ending to any word.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, that just really irked me, and I can't listen to that album hardly at all, just because I'm like, oh, this is so nerve grating.
I hear you.
But anyway.
That kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't like a mush mouth type talk. And it's the kind of thing that just bugs me with podcasting as well. One of the things that Chris Anderson and I have been chatting about is just making sure that your audio is nice and clear. That's why we don't use the Skype audio that when you and I talk, you record your side of the show, I record my side of the show, you send me your side, and I sandwich them together to give us the best clean audio. So the audio they hear from your side of the conversation is what was recorded into your microphone, from your microphone, and into your computer.
Right.
And we are able to sandwich them together. We don't do that for the video just because trying to edit the audio and the video to sync everything up is not worth it. And I figure it's YouTube. People aren't going to be listening on the best quality stuff via YouTube anyhow.
Right.
So, that's just kind of that's one of my pet peeves is making sure or one of my things, my idiosyncrasies, whatever the case may be. I want to make sure that the audio is the cleanest and best it possibly can be. We had a glitch when Tom helped out and hosted your half of the show. When he recorded both mine and his sides of the conversation because he had his DAW set up to record interviews for his radio show, which is normal.
Right.
And I wasn't clear ahead of time to tell him I only want your vocal. So he sends me his audio, and I realized that it was both together. So the audio for that episode was his live audio, my Skype audio, put together just as one long thing.
Right. Yeah.
So, and I mean, it sounded okay. We didn't have any dropouts. Every once in a while, like when we're talking, your voice will just go away for a second. So I'll miss like a word or so. I don't want that in the finished product. So that's why we do the more work to make it the way that we have it.
Yeah.
So,
because we want it to be good.
Exactly. I mean, it's about that. It's that thing about being the best because of who we represent. Not just doing it because we think we're so cool. This is who we are as Christians, and we want to make sure that we give the best back, that we're not trying to second guess, shortchange, whatever the case may be. It's about making it the best.
Yes.
So,
or at least the best that we can audio wise, because we totally came up with this topic about an hour ago.
Yeah, exactly. Well, but I mean, it's worked.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Which is just as much my fault as yours. I just think it's funny. Sorry.
No, it's all good. I'm fine. I mean, we tell people how shoestring the show is, so I mean,
if they want it to be better, they need to figure out a way to get us paid.
Yeah, that's exactly right. If you want us to spend more time doing it, then we need to have more time to be able to do it, and the only way we get that is if we don't have to work real jobs.
Right. Which is not likely to happen anytime in the near future.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So, let's see here. Any other pet peeves you want to mention? I'm out. I think I've listed all of mine. So.
Oh, well, you didn't mention the KJ thing.
Oh, KJ breathing.
Yeah.
Oh, dear Lord. Oh, go listen to that sometime. If you don't believe me, you will never hear KJ the same. And I got to say, I love KJ. He's a super talented guy. I love what he does with hip hop. Everything sounds good except for in between every verse.
Yeah.
That's what bugs me.
I did.
It's like
just
turn your head. When I breathe into the microphone here, or when I'm breathing and I'm not talking, I physically turn my head away.
That was a good audible effect. I like that.
I'm gonna take a breath, and hopefully you didn't hear that.
I did, but that's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay. It was
Well,
much less audible than if you'd done.
I exaggerated. I exaggerated it.
I
But if you watch the video at all, you will see me do one of two things. I either kind of purse my lips on the side closest to the mic and breathe out from the side that's away from the mic like this. Or I will literally lean away from the microphone and do my breathing.
Nice.
And if I'm going to cough, I hit the mute button.
That's some good radio right there.
This is a mute, right? I'm mute myself. So, we have control to keep this stuff from happening.
Yes, and evidently it also sounds like you're edited for content.
Yes. Why you? Yeah. Okay.
We can't have that little E in the red box next to our podcast. So
exactly.
Every now and then we just mute Chris.
This'll make Tim laugh. We've got to make sure we stay family friendly.
This is right.
There was a discussion on a forum that Tim and I belong to. It's an email type forum, and one of the discussions was how do you deal with syndicated shows that sometimes have topics that are not family friendly. It's like, well, how do you determine what is family friendly?
Right.
I mean, if it's a biblical explanation of whatever, shouldn't that be deemed family friendly? I mean, if you were to take the Bible and remove everything out of the Bible that was not quote unquote family friendly, it would be a very small book.
Right. This is true. But see, people feel more comfortable with that sort of thing in text form because they can just skip it fairly easily, or they can just not visualize very much. You know, they don't have to think about maybe what the woman who was thrown at Jesus's feet because she was caught in prostitution may or may not have been wearing, or what they did to grown men when they weren't, quite. I don't know, circumcised or whatever. You know, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happened that if it was shown full color, you would not want to necessarily watch or would not necessarily get a G rating.
Well, and a lot of these stations are, CCM. So it's all, Amy Grant and all of that kind of stuff.
No, Amy Grant's not family friendly anymore.
Oh, whatever.
It's all Natalie Grant.
Natalie Grant. Sorry.
There we go.
Is that her younger sister? No. Kidding.
Yeah.
Kidding.
Yeah.
Kidding. It's Chris says if you took out all the non-family friendly parts, you wouldn't have a savior who died for us. And that's exactly true. That's right, because I mean that's a very graphic depiction of what happened to Christ when he was on the cross. But this, because this place does mostly CCM type music, and that's they're looking out for the soccer mom who's driving her kids to and from soccer games and gymnastics
who doesn't have a lot of time to do a
and,
ton of explaining.
Right, exactly. It's that, and that's their thought is we don't want to be the one who, we're playing a focus on the family and they're talking to a former prostitute or a former homosexual or whatever the case may be. Well, why is it the radio station's job to protect the kid from hearing about this stuff and then, protecting the parent from having to answer the hard questions? It's like this is what life is. This is the things that we deal with on a regular basis. It's this is just a part of living in the world but not being of the world. You need to explain this stuff to your child. And I don't care what the age is, there comes a time where those questions are going to get asked. And as long as you answer it in a biblical context, I don't see how you can give a wrong answer.
Right.
But parents aren't prepared for that kind of thing a lot of times. And so there was a lot of stations that are like, oh, well, luckily they all warn us ahead of time if it's something that we think may be questionable. That's so we don't play the show, or some stations were like, we put out a disclaimer and give people plenty of time to be able to change the station, change the channel so that they don't have to listen to it or turn it off or whatever whatever the case may be. It's like one of those, you just put the disclaimer out there, warning, the content of today's program may not be suitable for all people or whatever the case may be, or contains graphic content, whatever. Viewer discretion advised, that type of thing. So they'll put the disclaimer out there, but still air the show. And then, typically they'll get emails from people. I can't believe that you would play a show with that kind of content, blah, 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 blah. It's like,
did you listen to it? No, but you said it was graphic.
That
seems like you knew.
Yeah. I guess that'd be another pet peeve is people who expect everything Christian to be quote unquote family friendly when their definition of family friendly is not always the same as everyone else's.
Right. Here you go. This is the. I'm not going to tell you what this is off of because I don't know. Not everyone might approve of this, but this would definitely be one of those things where this would be the ultimate of people needing to play this before said questionable content. Just because I love the effect on this, but take a quick listen to this. I think. Oh, wrong one. Here we go. Hold that thought.
Due to the graphic nature of this program, listener discretion is advised.
There you go.
Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly right.
Yes.
Yeah, we're okay at broken with offending people. And honestly, we are. We're perfectly fine with it.
Sounds so funny to phrase it that way.
Well, we like shaking up the establishment. I think that everything needs to be talked about in a biblical context, and I think that we need to maintain a sensitivity to it, but at the same time, the Bible isn't one to sensitively handle some of those topics. It's pretty clear, God's opinion on certain things. And so I
Right.
think that our opinion should be just as clear, although tempered with love.
Right. Well, and it's hard to know what to do in some of those situations because it's funny
Yeah.
because Tim just said in the chat room, we do what we want. We're surprised we haven't offended more people. You know, it's almost the same kind of mindset to some people that you have to have, almost like when you have a child who's fallen and kind of bumped their knee or something. If you act like they are really, really hurt, they're going to take the social cue from that and go, oh, I must be really, really hurt.
Right.
In the same way that if you say, this may offend you, people are going to be ready to be offended. You've just
Right.
told them that you expect them to be offended. Why wouldn't they be? Because they just got a heads up. Oh, wait, get ready to be offended. Okay, I'm ready to go now. Offend
right.
me.
That's
you know,
right.
whereas if you just play it, then they'll be like, oh, well, that was a little bit different, but it was okay.
I mean, do you think before Howard Stern goes on the air that he plays a disclaimer that says, hey, everybody, I'm going to do something outrageous. Prepare to be offended.
Not anymore.
My guess is no. People just expect it. So if you tune into it, you're expecting to be offended, and then you get
Right.
the satisfaction from being offended and outraged, and then you write letters to the radio, to Sirius about how on earth can you play this guy and all of that kind of stuff. You know, it's the same thing with Rush Limbaugh. They
Yeah.
both love to stir the pot.
Oh,
And
yeah.
people listen to them for the express purpose of wanting to be offended so that they can be indignant and go out
Right.
and rally against them for utilizing their free speech gift that's
Right.
granted within the Constitution of the United States.
Right. Right.
So
Well,
if
and-
you don't
and-
like what they say, don't listen to them.
And this is just a theory. I have no backing on this, but I think to a certain degree, I think more people appreciate it when you are less worried about completely catering to everyone's needs,
Yeah.
and you just say, "This is what it is." I understand if you don't want to listen. That's okay.
Hang on, I pulled out my
understand.
headset.
Oh,
Can't
you want me to start over on that? I said to me,
Yeah.
I think it's more important that people just say, whether it's a radio station, TV station, book, musician, whatever, they just say, this is what we are.
Yeah.
I understand if you don't like it, and it's okay if you don't like it. You don't have to.
Right.
But I'm not going to break my back trying to please everybody, because when I do that, you're going to end up with something that is very, very low common denominator, that is not really truly loved by anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be way watered down from every perspective. You just need to say, this is what it is. I mean, this is just my opinion. Radio U does a lot of stuff that I would never touch with a 10-foot pole
Right.
in my show.
Right.
Because I do, unfortunately, because it's playing on a bunch of different stations, kind of have to hit a somewhat low common denominator. I can't, I have to appeal to stations that play gospel and ones that are like Broken FM that play rock. But at the same time, Radio U has survived for many years, and they've taken chances, and they've been a little bit out there on a lot of musical choices that are either different or content-wise are a little bit in the gray area where I might not be so comfortable with.
Right.
But they make no bones about, this is just what we do. We are all about God. We are all about Christ. There are things that we may or may not play that you may not like, but that's okay. If you don't like this song, you're welcome to listen to something else, either for the duration of this song or however long you want to, and
Right.
that's okay.
Right.
They've
Well,
just
and-
kind of stuck with what they are, and I think that works for them, and I think it also works for Broken, and I wish more Christian media outlets would spend less time trying to be obsessed about correcting 2 negative phone calls that they got out of several 100,000 listeners,
Yeah.
as opposed to just saying, look, I'm sorry you didn't like it. I don't mean to be a stumbling block. If this is creating problems for you, don't listen.
Right. Right. Well, I know, like when you did your interview with is it TD Benton?
Yeah, a white collar sideshow.
Yeah, you put out the disclaimer that, hey, these guys are reaching out to a very unique group of people,
Mm-hmm.
and your listener may not get it.
Right.
So, play a previous episode of the show if you want to, but
Right.
that's what's coming up. And I know that you've had some pushback from some of the stations saying, hey, thanks for the warning, we're going to air something different. Most of the
Right.
time, without even listening to the interviews to determine whether it's acceptable for them or not. But the fact that you put that warning out there, that kind of sends up a red flag of, oh, okay, we should not air this show then because it might be too risky. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
you're doing your due diligence, and I think that's
Right.
great. I just think it's that you have to do it. It's sad that
Yeah.
most stations will opt to not air it without ever listening to it themselves to make that determination. They will just assume, well, boom, Paul said it's not going to be good. We're not going to listen to it.
Right.
We're not
And I
gonna
did
air it.
admire a couple of stations who didn't air it, who actually went through a lot of effort wanting to figure out a reason to air it.
Right.
And they were like, well, I didn't find anything that said expressly that they were Christians on their website. It seemed like their music was not, there wasn't like a redemption message at the end of each song.
Right.
It felt like it was buried too deep for us. And we really feel like to stick with what we say we play, we need to not air it. I was like, okay. I was like, dude, I can't fault you for
Totally.
taking an extra hour or two out of your day to try to figure out a way to, in good conscience, play what I think is okay. But that's all right, And I appreciate that. And I know some stations probably didn't look or listen. They probably just saw potentially offensive and were like, yep, I'm out.
Yeah.
But at
Done.
the same time, I've also said the same thing. I try, like I said, I try to be overly sensitive. So there were some times when I sent out the same kind of thing because a guest said crap or
Right.
heck. Or
Right.
something that I'm like, it doesn't offend me at all.
Yeah.
And I get a bunch of people who write me back who are like, really? You're bothering telling us about this? I'm like, I don't know your station or your audience. I don't
Exactly.
know. It's like,
Exactly.
I know people who are not allowed to say those words. And it doesn't offend me, but
Yeah.
I want to make sure that you, yeah. And like Tim's pointed out in the chat room, they're talking about having a glass of wine.
Yeah.
I think there was, when I had Mikey Bridges from Game Church, he talked about serving beer
Right.
at their display at E3, and I was like, it talks about having beer in Bibles. I don't know if you guys how you land on that,
Right.
but if you don't want it, and I think I edited a chunk of that out, and I was like, you can air it without that in there if you want to, because the rest of the interview was in no way even close
Offensive.
to offensive.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I hate doing stuff like that, but I want to make sure that I'm not getting dropped for something that dumb.
Exactly. Well, I think we've beaten that horse for this episode. So
Agreed.
So we're good to go. Was there other new stuff you wanted to talk about, or should we do the stew?
There was a couple of things, fairly brief, I think. Stephen Christian, the lead singer for Anberlin, it looks like he will have a musical career after Anberlin.
Yeah.
Looks like he's going to be releasing a worship album,
Which we
in
actually had.
2015.
We posted this info on Broken, and we had a listener who was like, that just kind of really rubs me the wrong way. They haven't been a Christian band the entire time they've been in existence. But now that they're going away, he wants to come out and start to make money off the Christian market too. And I'm like, if you followed Anberlin at all, you would know that they've always been very outspoken about their faith. They
Right.
have just never called themselves a Christian band.
Right. Which technically Switchfoot doesn't either. So.
Right. Right. So I just, I pointed that out in a loving way. I didn't
Yeah.
come down on them. I was like, well,
Right.
actually, they've been very outspoken Christians
Right.
the entire time, and they'll be the first to tell you that they are Christians in a band, not necessarily a quote unquote Christian band.
Right.
So it's funny how he caught a little bit of flack from a few people about that.
Yeah.
I don't get that. He's never been shy about talking about his faith with anybody.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
Yeah.
Other small things. 1,000 Foot Crutch released the cover art for their new album, Oxygen Inhale, which is very different from any other cover art they've ever had. It's very minimal, kind of slick looking, and I'm curious to see how good the album will be or won't be. I've been very impressed with our last two releases, so I have high hopes, to say the least. Let's see here. There is, of course, a new no, I'm totally messing up their name. Oh my good, Flyleaf. There we go. Flyleaf. There's a new Flyleaf track that's up on, I think, Revolver magazine that you can check out, and it's pretty good. To me, it shows a little bit better musical direction, I think, than other stuff that they had played before, which just kind of was like, yes, this is us with a different lead singer, and doesn't really say much, but so that's pretty cool. If you want to check that out, you can look up the link to that. I believe is on Indie Music. Just search for Flyleaf and you can find that.
Tim says Aaron Gillespie is also doing a worship album.
Well, he's done that before, though.
He did, yeah.
Yeah. So this is his second one, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
I
yeah,
remember
you can-
because we, it's funny, we did an interview with Aaron, and he is very not chatty.
Yeah.
And in fact, when we interviewed one of the guys from from the Almost, I don't remember which guy it was. We interviewed one of the guys from the Almost, and he's like, "Yeah, this guy is way too chatty, and Aaron's just a snooze fest on interviews." Right. And I laughed at that, but Tim kind of got Jesus juked by Aaron a little bit.
Oh yeah,
because he was. I don't remember the actual conversation, how it went, but Tim asked him something about, doing the album, solo album or something. And Aaron's like, well, it's not really about me, and it's all about Jesus. And Tim's like, okay, I kind of feel like a heel now. Thank you very much, Aaron. It was Dusty. Yes, it was Dusty.
Yeah.
From the Almost. And yeah, he pretty much told us that anybody but him would have been a much more boring interview. So I just love how they can go back and forth with each other about that kind of stuff. I can't say that from experience, Well, I can say Aaron was a bit of a snooze fest on the interview. It was, it was supposed to be a 20-minute interview. I think we stretched it out to about 11 minutes, and that was about all we could get. So, I mean, I get it. Some of these guys are tired. They've been on tour a while. I don't fault him for not being real chatty, but apparently that's just his personality. He's just not a very chatty guy.
Yeah, so. I hear you. Well, of course, it wouldn't be anything newsworthy going on at all if there weren't another Kickstarter or Indiegogo campaign starting.
Right. Who's doing it now?
The Order of Elijah, which, if I'm not mistaken, is like a Christian metalcore band.
Yep.
But they're doing an Indiegogo campaign for their next album, War at Heart. So if you want to help them out, you can do that.
Cool.
And other than that, I mean, BEC did a new signing, but it's like a pop, a female pop star kind of thing. And I don't know.
Okay.
I don't really care that much about it. So other than that, no, I'm all good.
So if you're listening to this podcast and you happen to be a hardcore fan, you might be excited to know that our intern, Dustin, who deals with all the hardcore stuff, actually got permission from the label to do a special edition of The Broken Record with War of Ages' new album. Mm-hmm. And he's going to be interviewing the lead singer from War of Ages. And so we're going to do what we normally do for The Broken Record on Monday night. It'll be a Friday night. I think it's a week from yesterday. So this coming Friday, I want to say it's like the 18th or something like that. 10 p.m. we're going to air the interview as well as the entire War of Ages album as soon as the interview is done. So a very special edition of the Broken Record. We're calling it the Broken Record, the Mayhem Edition.
Cool.
So tune in for the War of Ages new album. And that's actually, the album releases the following Tuesday. So you get to hear it like 4 days before the album actually hits the streets.
Nice. Oh, I did think of one other little newsy thing that is just not up on Indievision, or at least not that I saw this time around. But remember we talked about Write This Down not having their normal lead singer anymore, and they were putting out some new stuff. Well, I saw a quick little note out from their current lead singer, and he basically fleshed a bunch of stuff out. He's like, well, a bunch of the guys have gone on to do other things, but still are into making the music. He goes, we've toured ourselves to death over the past like 6 years or whatever. So I don't know how much touring we're going to be doing for this next project, but it's going to be an EP. He did confirm that their former lead singer, who apparently got involved with the band by being like their roadie or something. So it was kind of a weird like rags to riches story, but he
that's
finally
like the janitor that
that
ends up climbing the ladder to become the CEO, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So he just really wanted to be involved in the band, and he figured out how to scream, and then kind of became the main vocalist and whatever. But he decided that he was just kind of done for I don't remember exactly what the reason is, but if you go to their Facebook page, you can read the full letter from their current vocalist. But cool. Anyway, they were saying they're going to put out an EP, and then hopefully sometime before either the end of the year or early next year, they're going to do a full-length release as well. He's just not sure how much they're going to tour and how much. I got the impression, just kind of reading between the lines, he's not quite sure how long the band will be a band in the future, but they are excited about the new music that they've done thus far. So
awesome.
I don't know.
No, I like Write This Down, so hopefully they'll figure out a way to keep it together.
Yeah.
We shall see. All right, so is that it?
That's it. That's all I got, man.
The Rock in a Hard Place podcast presents
the one and the only.
All right, boys and girls, get ready for
The Stew.
It is time for the stew. One movie, 3 songs. You'll hear 1 clip from each of the 3 songs and 2 clips from the movie. There is a theme this year in that they all came out this year. It's a tip-off right there because all of the movie and song clips and all that fun stuff came out in the same year. And they were all the songs were singles that I can just about guarantee that Broken FM played.
We'll see about that.
Yeah. Do you think this one's going to be one of the more difficult ones, though?
We've only been around for 5 years, so.
Well, it's not that far back.
All right. Just checking.
All right.
Just checking. All right. So let's go ahead and here is, for those of you counting, this is the stew number 18. So you can certainly play along at home, see if you can figure out who they are before I figure it out. Here we go.
And I suppose you still aim to win this war through magic.
Science.
Now, America's golden boy and a lot of other good men are dead because you had a crush.
And not that you necessarily pay close enough attention to my show for this to really mean a heck of a lot, but all of these songs were in the top 10 of the year they came out for the year itself.
Okay. So when you
at least
did the
on
top
my
10
show
of the year, right.
Yeah.
Okay. So was the movie Men in Black?
No.
Because that was Tommy Lee Jones, right?
Yes, it was. And this is kind of a landmark for me. This is the first movie that I put into the stew that I have not seen personally.
Oh,
but
wow.
I can just about guarantee you have, though.
Okay.
And it's not because I don't want to see it. So I'm not saying, I know you've seen it because your taste in movies stink, but I haven't seen it because I am far superior in my movie taste. So I'm not saying that.
Trying to think of other movies that Tommy Lee Jones has been in, like The Fugitive.
Yeah.
Or U.S.
But the
U.S. Marshals.
The Fugitive wouldn't have come out while Broken FM has been up and going. Now, this is something that I didn't even know that he was in this until I started putting this together. He wasn't a top billed person in this movie.
Gotcha. Okay, well, I know track 1 is Blindside, Our Love Saves Us.
Oh, very good.
Okay. And I know that I have heard the other 2 tracks, but it's not coming to me. So I'm going to play the whole thing again so that I can hear the movie and tracks 2 and 3 and try and help me figure out who they are.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
And I suppose you still aim to win this war through magic.
Science.
Now, America's golden boy and a lot of other good men are dead because you had a crush.
Okay, so the second song, I believe the title of the second song is called New Fire.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Pillar?
Mm-mm. No, not Pillar.
Oh.
This is a band that has recently broken up but has not gotten back together, and we were both very bummed about it.
Sent by Ravens?
Yes!
Okay, good. Sent by Ravens. And I know the third song, but it's not coming to me at all, either band or title.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, the longer clip probably won't help you very much because I listened to the verse that came before, because what you were hearing was the chorus.
Right.
And the verse before it to me didn't sound like it was that much more distinctive, and the longer clip has just more of the chorus, which just kind of repeats. And I don't think I would have gotten it. The chorus, the name of the song doesn't feel like it is directly connected to the chorus very much at all.
Okay, so Chris is asking if the movie is Captain America.
It is!
Nice. Okay, good job, Chris.
Dealio, Chris.
Captain
Nicely
America. I've
done.
only seen it like once.
And I haven't gotten to see it yet at all, which makes me a horrible person.
You haven't seen the Captain America yet?
No, first or second.
Wow. So
I'm behind.
Have you seen the Avengers?
Oh, yes, I've seen the Avengers.
Well, Captain America sets up the Avengers.
Well, that's lovely. I still haven't seen it.
Like you'll watch Captain America, and suddenly the Avengers will make so much more sense.
Oh, I'm sure it will.
And you need to go see Winter Soldier before you go see the next Avengers movie.
Oh, okay.
So, because all of these things, they set each other up.
Right.
So you've got to see these other movies in order to really understand what has happened.
I won't even tell you how many of the Iron Man movies I've seen.
Oh, seriously, dude. Honestly, the first movie's really good. I enjoyed the second movie, but I think I like the third one best of all, which I know is really odd. But I feel like I like the third one best of all. But you have to watch the Avengers before you see the third Iron Man because they play into each other.
Ah, okay.
So if you've seen the Avengers, you can watch Iron Man 3, but you need to see the other ones too.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let me play the long clip of the third song and see if I can figure it out. We'll see what. And Chris says, "Dude, you're missing out," and I fully agree.
Oh yes,
I fully agree. You need to watch them.
Yeah, totally.
All right. So here's track 3 or song 3. Let me see. Yeah, no, I mean, I know the song.
Right.
But the name and artist are not coming to me at all.
I wouldn't get it either. So it's not just you. But it is actually Ivory Line, and the song is called The Healing.
There you go. Okay.
But yeah, I totally would not have gotten it at all. Which apparently I think they're gearing up to do something new. They just started doing updates on their Facebook page. So hopefully there'll be a new output from them sometime in the near future.
Good deal. Now, the year that they came out in, was it 2011?
Yeah, it was.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Good deal. Awesome. Do you have any Noise Trade picks?
I do. And there's been a lot of stuff coming out on Noise Trade recently, but I tried to hone it down to the stuff that I just genuinely liked, as opposed to stuff that I was like, oh, this is kind of good. There is a new, well, it's technically not new. I think it's actually came out in maybe 2011 or 2012 as well. But the band Sleeping at Last has just dumped a huge album onto Noise Trade. It's called Yearbook, and it's got a ton of tracks on it.
Okay.
Let me see. It's got a total of 36 songs. Crazy.
Nice.
So if you've never heard these guys, you should definitely check it out. It's a little bit laid back, and I'm going to play a clip for you from their song called, where did it go? Oh, Birthright, and it features John Foreman of Switchfoot. And I don't remember if he's exactly in this part or not, but still, cool song, and this will at least give you a feel of what the rest of it sounds like and see what you think about it. Here we go. So there you go. That is Sleeping at Last, the song Birthright, which you can find on their album, The Yearbook. Cool. And like I said, huge, long album. It's all kind of that acoustic-y, indie rocky kind of stuff, but I like it. They say that in their For Fans Of section that maybe if you like Nick Drake or Bon Iver or Fleet of Foxes, Radiohead, or Sigur Rós, then you might end up liking these guys. But it's definitely an acquired taste if you're not used to listening to stuff like this, but good stuff, especially when you consider how long it is. And it's only going to be up there for a limited time. So if you like what you heard, you might want to jump on it quickly.
Awesome.
The other one is by a hip-hop group called The Breaks. And I think they do a lot of producing for other artists, but they have a full album up as well called Never Arrive. And that's also the name of the single that I'm going to play for you, which features JR and, of course, who else but Lecrae. So they have a little bit of a different type of production style. And if you want to find it, it's all one word: THEBREA. So it's spelled very differently. But anyway, here's a little clip. See what you think.
Wanna see some action? Please help me touch minds. But first you gotta touch minds. But first I gotta slow down and stop thinking I haven't figured out. Oh, I know how to grow now. Don't mean I'm gonna blow now just cause I'm stepping on stages for shows that are sold out. All fake, no doubt, unashamed, not proud. This is just the beginning, first inning, no outs. We haven't made it cause we're on your radio. Started at the bottom, see how far we're gonna go. But we haven't arrived yet, no, we'll never arrive yet, I know you.
So it's all pretty good. If you want to check it out, once again, it's The Breaks, THEBREAX, and the album's called Never Arrive.
Awesome. Good deal.
I likes it.
Very, very cool. Well, that is going to do it for another episode of the Rock in a Hard Place podcast. We want to say thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this show. If you haven't done it already and you have like 2 minutes, go over to iTunes, give us a rating, and leave a review. Please, just take a minute to do it. Not only would we love to hear about it, but it helps other folks discover the show and know whether or not it's worth listening to. It's all based off of your ratings and that kind of stuff. So the more ratings we get, the higher in the queue we get placed when people do searches for this kind of thing, and it helps us out a lot as far as just exposure is concerned. We're not doing this to make a ton of money off of it. That's not why. We just want to be able to put this out there for people that we know are probably looking for a show like this and just haven't found us yet. So by you taking the time to do that, you help people discover this show, and we appreciate it as well.
And if you don't like the show, then you can share your misery, and that's always good too.
Absolutely, and we're fine with giving negative ratings. If you want to give us 1 star and tell everybody how lousy we are, then that's totally fine. I'm totally fine with that. So have no fear. Go do your worst. It's fine with me. Let me see. If you want to contact us, you can do so easily. It is rockinahardplacepodcast@gmail.com. You can hit up our website, rockinahardplacepodcast.com. You can also hit us up on Facebook at facebook.com/rockinahardplacepodcast. That is rock, the letter N, the letter A, hard place, podcast. Easy enough to say for sure.
Okay, yeah, good. I like it.
Well, guys, thanks again for listening. We appreciate it. I'm Chris Cooner.
And I'm Paul Gibson.
We'll see you next week.
Love you guys.
We'll be right back.